Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, double honor to the apostles GMS. This is Nawa Allah coming at you another video, and this is a continuation of the show that I was doing, going to the poets of Acts, the 17th chapter. So this is the fourth part, but I'm going to just title this one Acts 17:28 breakdown. All right. So basically, what I was going into in this series, I was going into Acts, the 17th chapter, going from the 24th verse down to the 28th verse, which, like I've mentioned in the first part, if you watch the video, through the spirit of Yahweh Shah, I did a show going into the whole chapter years back, maybe like 2013, 2014, and I'm just going into it again. So let's get right to it. This is Acts chapter 17, verse 28. For in him we live and move and have our being. And this is the Apostle Paul speaking to the Stoics and the Epicureans on Mars Hill, or Areopagus. It says, for in him we live and move and have our being. So this is the Apostle Paul is saying to the Stoics. He's telling them that for in him we live and move and have our being. Now, the him that the Apostle Paul is speaking about is the Most High. In the Most High we live and move and have our being. Let's get a scripture on that. This is the book of Job, chapter 12, verse 10. In whose hand is the soul of everything, and the breath of all mankind. As a matter of fact, I'll start from verse 9. Job 12 and 9. Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord have wrought this, or the hand of the Lord have worked all of these things? So it says, in whose hand is the soul of everything, and the breath of all mankind? In whose hand, or in whose power? The Heavenly Father's power. So in the Heavenly Father's power is the soul of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind. So in the Most High we move, we live, and have our being. Because His Spirit is what controls all of us. Okay? It's through Him that we live, that we move, and have our being. Because the Most High is the Creator, the Supreme Creator. Alright? Let's go back. As a matter of fact, before we go back to Acts 17, let's go to another scripture. This is Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. The scripture says, and the Lord power formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. See that? For in him we live, we move, and have our being. He breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Alright? So now that we understand that, let's go back to Acts the 17th chapter. So here we are back in Acts. So the Apostle Paul is saying in Acts 17:28, for in him we live and move and have our being. So in the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, we live and move and have our being. But in regards to the Stoics, what they believed was in us, what they believed gave us life, what they believed allowed us to move and have our being, was something that they called pneuma. P-N-E-U-M-A. Let's go to that. Now, this is from the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. It says Stoic philosophy of mind. Let me jump down. And it says, let me see. See what I want to get to. It says, Stoicism was one of the most important and enduring philosophies to emerge from the Greek and Roman world. The Stoics are well known for their contribution to moral philosophy, and more recently they have also been recognized for their work in logic, grammar, philosophy of language, and epistemology. This article examines the Stoics' contributions to philosophy of mind. The Stoics constructed one of the most advanced and philosophically interesting theories of mind in the classical world. As in contemporary cognitive science, the Stoics rejected the idea that the mind is an incorporeal entity. And let's look at that word incorporeal. Incorporeal means something that has no material form or physical substance can be described as incorporeal. If you believe in spirits or ghosts, you can't be touched or seen but only felt, then you believe in the incorporeal. It says here, instead they argued that the mind or soul must be something corporeal, which means corporeal describes something that has a physical form. So it says, and something that obeys the laws of physics. Moreover, they held that all mental states and acts were states of the corporeal soul. The soul, a concept broader than the modern concept of mind, was believed to be hot, fiery breath, pneuma, which pneuma is Greek, meaning like breath, which means breath, that infused the physical body. So they believe that the soul was hot and fiery. It was like a hot, fiery breath that they called pneuma, that was infused the physical body. As a highly sensitive substance, pneuma pervades, meaning spreads throughout the body, establishing a mechanism able to detect sensory information and transmit the information to the central commanding portion of the soul in the chest. The information is then processed and experienced. So they believe that in our bodies we have something called pneuma, which they called, which is Greek for breath, which they believe was hot and fiery. They believe that pneuma was inside our body and it pervaded the body, meaning it spread it throughout the body, which allowed us to be able to detect information. Okay? Now let me go where I wanted to get to. Okay, here. It says, here, go right here. It says, according to Chrysippus, okay, it says, it was not until Chrysippus, it says, Zeno of Cete, the substance of the soul. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, was very interested in the nature of the soul. He and his protege Cleanthes emphasized the active nature of the mind by identifying it as an internal fire or vital heat. It was not until Chrysippus that Stoic psychology reached. Who's Chrysippus? Let's go to Chrysippus real quick. He was another philosopher. Okay, it says right here. Chrysippus was among the most influential philosophers of the Hellenistic period. He is usually thought of as the most important influence on Stoicism. Let's go back. It says it was not until Chrysippus that Stoic psychology reached its mature state. According to Chrysippus, the human soul consists of a breath-like substance called pneuma. Cognitive faculties, which is your mind, were identified with the specific activities of the pneuma. In addition to being the substance of the particular souls of living organisms, pneuma was also held to be the organizing principle of the cosmos, that is, the world soul. The Stoics identified the world soul with God or Zeus. One source described God as intelligent, artistic fire that systematically creates the cosmos as it expands. In the same passage, God is called the pneuma that pervades, meaning spreads throughout the whole cosmos, as the human soul pervades the mortal body. In contrast to contemporary physics and cosmology, the Stoics saw the world as a living organism. So the Stoics believed in the concept of pneuma, which means breath, a breath-like substance, a hot, fiery breath-like substance that was within us, that they called Zeus or that they called God. But they believe that this pneuma not only pervaded, meaning spread throughout the whole entire cosmos. They believe that it spread throughout the whole entire cosmos as the human soul or the pneuma within us pervaded the mortal body. So they believe that pneuma gave us life, being, and that we move through pneuma, and that God or Zeus, which is what they called this pneuma or this world soul, was within us, that allowed us to be able to live and to move and have our being. So the Apostle Paul is speaking to the Stoics on their level. Like I said before, if a person can't understand the concept of the elect, right, and how the Most High chooses you to be the elect, but this person is a person who studies Shakespeare, I can say you can't make yourself the elect. The Most High has to make you a part of the elect. So to be or not to be, that is the question. So what the Apostle Paul, what would I be doing? I would be becoming all things to all men. The Apostle Paul, to the Jew, he became a Jew. That's why when you go to the book of Acts, speak about the Apostle Paul in the synagogue speaking to the Jews. Why would he do that? He was speaking to the Jews going into the law, proving to them that Yahweh Shah was the anointed. Okay? That's what the Apostle Paul was doing. So what is the Apostle Paul doing now? He's speaking to the Stoics, but he's speaking to the Stoics in relation to Stoic philosophy. He's speaking to them in relation to Stoic philosophy so that they can understand the message that he's getting across. Now let's get some more scriptures. 1 Corinthians 9:20. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. So you had the Jews who were seeking to be justified through the works of the law, who was living in Jerusalem, So in order for them to get the message, in order for them to get the gospel that Yahweh Shah is the Messiah, and that you have to believe on him to be saved, and you're not saved through the works of the law, but rather through faith in Yahweh Shah, what did the Apostle Paul do? The Apostle Paul went into them different synagogues, and he debated with them for multiple Sabbath days, proving to them through the Lord that Yahweh Shah is the anointed. Let's prove that real quick. This is Acts 17:1. Now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was the synagogue of the Jews. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures. What scriptures? The Old Testament. He wasn't going to the book of Acts. He wasn't going to the Gospels. He was in the synagogue. He was going to the Old Testament, opening and alleging that Yahweh Shah must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Yahweh Shah whom I preach unto you is the anointed. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas and the devout Greeks, a great multitude, which those Greeks are talking about Israelites, and of the chief women not a few. So the Apostle Paul went into the law to gain them, just as the Apostle Paul was speaking to the Stoics in relation to Stoic philosophy to gain them. Let's get some history now. Now this is when the chief captain had heard that there was an uproar in Jerusalem, and he came and he bound the Apostle Paul in chains. And this is what the Apostle Paul says. Acts chapter 21 verse 39. This is Apostle Paul's pleading his case, you could say. Acts 21:39. But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. Now let's go into this. Paul said, I'm a man which am a Jew of Tarsus. Look at the Tarsus. Let's go to Tarsus real quick.
Strong's G 5018. Tarsus.
Tarsus. And it says a flat basket belonged to Tarsus, a native of Tarsus. Let's go back. It says Cilicia.
Strong's G 2791. Kilikia.
Kilikia, the land of Celix or Kelix, a maritime province in the southeast of Asia Minor, bordering on Pamphylia in the west, Laconia and Cappadocia in the north, and Syria in the east. Its capital, Tarsus, was the birthplace of Paul. Let's get a map real quick. As you can see, this is Tarsus right here. All right? Right in the middle of your screen, Tarsus. And you see Cilicia right there, right by the Mediterranean, right by Cyprus. Okay? Right by the island of Cyprus. You see it right there. Okay? And it says Apostle Paul traveled before first missionary journey on the top left-hand side of the picture. So now let's go back to that. To the book of Acts. So this is back in Acts 21:39. It says, and Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia. Okay? So Paul was from Tarsus. All right? He was from Tarsus, from a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. So what does it mean he was a citizen of no mean city? Does it mean his city wasn't mean? There was real con there? Let's see what it means when it says no mean city. Like, you know, when you do math, you got the mean, you got the median, and things like that. And you got the mode. What does he mean by mean? Okay?
Strong's G 767.
Asemas. Mean, it says, unmarked or unstamped, of money, unknown, of no mark, insignificant, ignoble. So, when the Apostle Paul said he was a citizen of no mean city, meaning he was a citizen of no unknown city, of no insignificant city, of no ignoble city. Therefore, he was a citizen of a known city. He was a citizen of a significant city. He was a citizen of a noble city. That's why he said that. He was a citizen of no mean city, meaning my city wasn't unknown. My city isn't insignificant. My city isn't ignoble. My city is known. My city is significant. My city is noble. So I'm going to read the verse again and go into some history. Acts 21:39. And Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, meaning a citizen of no insignificant city, a citizen of no ignoble city, a citizen of no unknown city. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. Now, why would he speak that way about Tarsus? So if Tarsus wasn't a mean city, meaning it wasn't ignoble, it wasn't unknown, it wasn't insignificant, that means it had to be noble. It had to be known that it had to be significant. But in what way? This is from Ancient History Encyclopedia. It says Tarsus. Tarsus is a city located inland from the Mediterranean by about 20 kilometers in the area of Cilicia, Anatolia. It sits on a major trade route which increased its prosperity over its 2,000 years of known historical contribution. It was an important point of intersection between the land and sea routes, making it a significant place of commerce. So for one, it was a significant place of commerce. At one point, it was the accepted capital of Cilicia in the Roman Empire and held fame for being the meeting place of Antony and Cleopatra, as well as being the birthplace of Paul the Apostle. So it was known for being the meeting place of Antony and Cleopatra, right? But what else does it say? It says, see if I can find it. Bear me 1 second. Alright, I just scrolled down the page a little bit. Here it is. It says the patron god of Tarsus was Sandon throughout the majority of its established history down to the 3rd century CE. And further fame was accorded to Tarsus as it was affected by the passing through of Alexander the Great in 333 BCE. Tarsus was also famed for its schools and a library which was said to rival those of Athens and Alexandria. So the Apostle Paul was from Tarsus. It was famed for its schools and library and was said to rival those of Athens and Alexandria. Athens is the capital of Greece. Alexandria is where? In Egypt, which was named after Alexandria. So how do you think Apostle Paul knew about Stoic philosophy? How do you think he knew about the Epicurean philosophy? Because he was raised up in Tarsus. So he had acquired that knowledge. I'll give you one more article about the history. This is from, it says, Explore Ancient Anatolia. It says, Travel Notes and Photos of Archaeological Tours in Ancient Anatolia, Turkey. Stoic Philosophers of Tarsus and Soli. March 29, 2016. When Alexander the Great passed through with his armies in 333 BC and nearly met his death here after a bath in the Cydnus, Strabo was a Roman philosopher. I believe he was a Roman philosopher. Let me get to Strabo real quick. As a matter of fact, Strabo was mentioned in the beginning of that movie, 1492 Conquest. Within the first 8 to 9 minutes, the guy who plays Columbus mentioned Strabo as one of the people that he researched to prove that there was another side of the world. Yeah, Strabo was a Greek philosopher, was a Greek geographer, philosopher, and historian who lived in Asia Minor during the transitional period of the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire. So we got to get on here. It says, Strabo praises the cultural level of Tarsus in this period with its philosophers, poets, and linguists. The schools of Tarsus rivaled those of Athens and Alexandria. At this time, the Library of Tarsus held 200,000 books, including a huge collection of scientific works. Okay? There's a little more information I can go into that, but that's the main point. Now why am I giving you the history of Tarsus? We know the Apostle Paul was from Tarsus, right? A city in Cilicia. We know that. We know the city was no mean city, meaning it wasn't an insignificant city. It wasn't an unknown city. It wasn't an ignoble city, but rather was significant, known, and noble due to being a meeting place of Antony and Cleopatra. It having known being a great place of commerce. But also, it was said to have had schools that rivaled Athens and Alexandria. Libraries and schools that rivaled Athens and Alexandria. And around 333 BC, it was said to have contained about 200,000 books in this library. Why am I giving you that history? We'll go to it. I'll show it to you right now through the Spirit. Let's go back to Acts 17:28. Acts 17:28, so we can find out why did we just go into the history. Acts 17:28. For in him we live and move and have our being. So we broke that down in the scriptural aspect. We broke that down in the Stoic philosophical aspect. But where's the Apostle Paul? Why is the Apostle Paul saying that? Remember what I went to? He said I have become all things to all men, right? That he might gain them, right? Now let's go to this next page. This is Wikipedia. It says Epimenides, right? It says Epimenides of Knossos was a semi-mythical 7th or 6th century BC Greek seer and philosopher prophet. Semi-mythical because certain people attributed myths to the man. Like, for example, it says his life. While tending his father's sheep, Epimenides, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, Epimenides. See if I can go here. Is it pronounce it for me? Nah, it's alright. It says, go to life. It says, life. While tending his father's sheep, Epimenides is said to have fallen asleep for 57 years in a Cretan cave sacred to Zeus, which we know that that's a myth. No, he wasn't asleep for 57 years. After which, he reportedly awoke with the gift of prophecy. This is according to Diogenes Laertius, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who was a Greek philosopher. And Plutarch, he was a biographer of Greek philosophers. Yep, Diogenes Laertius was a biographer of Greek philosophers. Okay, it says Plutarch, which was another biographer, if I'm not mistaken, he was a Roman citizen and was a Greek philosopher and essayist. Okay, it says Plutarch writes that Epimenides purified Athens after the pollution. I could skip that. I don't really gotta read all of this. Let's go right down to the point. So we understand that Epimenides was a semi-mythical 7th or 6th century Greek seer, which he wasn't no prophet. He wasn't no prophet, but it says Greek seer and philosopher poet. So we read about his life, which you don't really gotta read more about it. We just know who he is. Let's go right down to his works. It says several prose. Prose is a form of language that exhibits a natural flow of speech and grammatical structure, rather than a regular arithmetic structure as in traditional poetry, where the common unit of verse is based on metry or rhyme. It says several prose and poetic works now lost were attributed to Epimenides, including a Theogony, an epic poem on the Argonautic expedition, prose works on purifications and sacrifices and cosmogony, oracles and works of the laws of Crete, and a treatise on Minos and Rhadmanthus. Critica. Epimenides' Critica is quoted twice in the New Testament. See that? Its only source is a 9th century Syriac commentary by Isolde of Merv on the Acts of the Apostles, discovered, edited, translated, so on and so forth. It says, in the poem, Minos addresses Zeus thus. On the right side, it tells you the translation. It says, they fashioned a tomb for you, holy and high one. Cretans always liars. See that? Remember that? The Apostle Paul said the Cretans are always liars. When you go into the history, the reason why the Apostle Paul said the Cretans are always liars, because the Cretan Crete was an island. Crete, that was an island. And on Crete, they believed that Zeus died, but will be resurrected, which Epimenides believed that Zeus didn't die. Zeus was immortal. So he called them Cretans that they're liars. They're saying that you die. You don't die. You're immortal. They're saying that you die and you come back resurrected. No, Zeus, you don't die. Okay, so that was a lie that the Greeks had. But the Apostle Paul was, I believe that was written in Titus or Timothy. He was basically warning the one that he was written a letter to. Remember, them Cretans, they're liars, man. Be aware of them if you're amongst them. Evil beast, idle bellies or slow bellies. But you are not dead. You live and abide forever. For in you we live and move and have our being. So why would the Apostle Paul quote Epimenides? Because he understands he's talking to Stoics. He's talking to Epicureans. He's talking to these people that are in Athens, Greece. He's talking to these people that are aware of Greek history and Greek philosophers. So he's dealing with them on their level. To the Jew, he became a Jew that he might gain some. Well, guess what? To the Greek, he becoming a Greek that he might gain some. He's doing this to gain them into the truth. You believe that in your God we live and move and have our being. No, but in my power we live and move and have our being. Okay? Now let's go back. It says, Acts 17:28, for in him we live and move and have our being. So he was quoting Epimenides' Critica. And it says, as certain also of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. So he's saying your poets have said, for we are also his offspring. Now, if you want to find out who this poet is, all you got to do is look in your Bible dictionary. Okay? Lord willing, when I post this video up, I'll be able to put the picture in the video. But if you go in your Bible dictionary and you look up the word Aratus, Aratus, it'll give you the history of Aratus. And through the spirit of Yahweh Shai, That's what opened up my spirit, opened up my mind to do the show. That's how everything started to fall into the place. Once I saw that, Aratus, I typed it into Google, looked up his history, and everything, the spirit has opened up everything else to me. Through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. Now let's go to that. This right here says theoi.com. It says Theoi Project Classical Text Library, Aratus Phenomena. Aratus of Soli was a Greek poet who flourished in Macedonia in the early 3rd century BC. His only surviving work is The Phenomena, a book describing the constellations and weather signs. All right. It says the Loeb volume. Well, I could skip all of that because it's basically just telling you like what volume you can find it, something like that. It says Callimachus, Hymns and Epigrams, Lycopron, Aratus, translated by Mer, telling you who translated it. It says let's jump right down so we can read about the phenomena. This is phenomena. It says phenomena translated by G.R. Mer. It says from Zeus let us begin. Him do we mortals never. They saying that these mortals never leave him unnamed. It says full of Zeus are all the streets and all the marketplaces of men. See, remember we went to Phantom we live and have our being. And when you go into the history of Aratus, let's go to that real quick. Okay, let's go to Aratus on Wikipedia real quick. Okay, it says Aratus, right, was a Greek didactic poet. His major extant work is his hexameter poem Phenomena. Appearances. Let's just jump down. I don't want to read too much of it. Let's go right down to the point. Life. There are several accounts of Aratus' life by anonymous Greek writers, and the Suda and Eudocia also mention him. From these, it appears that he was a native of Soli in Cilicia. One authority says Tarsus. So he grew up in the area around where Paul grew up. Some even say Soli is in Cyprus, which is an island right near Cilicia. He is known to have studied with Menecrates in Ephesus and Philetus in Kos as a disciple of peripatetic philosopher Praxiphanes in Athens. He met the Stoic philosopher Zeno, as well as he met the Stoic philosopher Zeno, who's the founder of Stoicism. Where Zeno was known as Zeno of Citium, and it was said that Citium is also in Cyprus. Okay. Trying to find a little bit more about him. Bear me 1 second. 1 second. Alright, I got something for you. This is Aratus of Soli from encyclopedia.com. The reason why I'm going to this because the Apostle Paul said one of your own prophets. So he's saying one of your own he said one of your own poets. So he's saying one of your own Stoic poets. It says Aratus of Soli, astronomy. Although we possess 4 anonymous lives in the biography by Sudas, we are poorly informed by Aratus' life. I don't want to read too much. I really don't. Get right to the point real quick. I just have it I was looking for. Okay, here it is, yeah. It says, the letters supposedly by him that are in the first life, edited by Westermann, are most probably spurious. Aratus went to Athens as a young man and there became acquainted with Stoicism. See? So it said Aratus became acquainted with Stoicism. Now, that's the reason why in Acts the 17th chapter, in the 28th verse, the Apostle Paul said, for one of your own poets. Now let's go back to that last page we was on so we could close this video out. This is back reading Aratus' poem Phenomena. It says, from Zeus, I'm gonna jump right down. It says, it says, from Zeus let us begin. And him do mortals never leave unnamed. So mortals don't leave him unnamed. People that believe in Zeus, which obviously we don't. That's why I said for him do mortals. I didn't say we. Full of Zeus are all the streets and all the marketplaces of men. So they believe that Zeus was in all the streets and all the marketplaces of men. Remember the word pneuma? Greek word pneuma, which is breath. They believe that permeated or pervaded or spread throughout the cosmos and was within men. And they call this Numa Zeus or God. They believe that Zeus was in all of the streets and all of the marketplaces. Full as the sea in the havens thereof. Always they said they always it says always we all have need of Zeus. They saying that's what they're saying. It says, for we are also his offspring. See that? That's what they're saying. For we are also his offspring. For we are the offspring. That's what they're saying. We are the offspring of Zeus. It says, for we are also his offspring. The Apostle Paul is saying, yeah, for we are also his offspring. But we are the offspring of the Most High. We are not the offspring of this Zeus that you believe in. Once again, he's become all things to all men. He's taking their philosophies and he's using that to gain them to the truth. Now let's go back. This is Acts 17:33. So Paul departed from among them, from among the Epicureans and the Stoics. Howbeit certain men clave unto him and believed, among the which was Dionysius the Areopagite, a woman named Damaris, and others with them. Which I'll go into the whole Areopagite thing maybe in another show. So it says certain of them even clave to him. They believe. They wanted to be attached to him. So that's what the Apostle Paul was doing. So that's basically what Acts 17:28 is going into. So with that, I'm going to close. I hope brothers learn something, and I'm going to say shalom.